February 17th, 2022 awards meeting to order. We have a physical quorum represented by Stephen Datz, Ricky Erickson, and Hai Vu. We also have Laura Dutton and Joe Arfano joining the video conference. The Office of General Counsel is represented by Rebecca Levy. Budget is represented by Lori Whitmer. Before we begin reviewing today's agenda, I'll note that there isn't anyone physically present for public comment. Lynn, did you receive any public comment via email?
No public comment.
Thank you. Let the record show we did not receive any public comment. I'll pause for a moment for callers joining the video conference to unmute and speak up. Hearing no comments, we'll proceed with today's regular agenda. On today's agenda, we have items 1 through 10 that have been reviewed by Procurement and Budget. These items are now ready to be reviewed by the Awards Committee, beginning with item 1, representing the minutes from the February 10th, 2022 Awards Committee meeting. Are there any comments or corrections to be discussed? Okay, may I get a motion to approve award item 1, representing the minutes from February 10th, 2022 Awards Committee meeting?
Hi, so moved.
And a second?
Ricky, second.
In second.
Oh, Ricky beat you, Laura. We have a motion from Hai Vu, a second from Ricky Erickson. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Minutes are approved as presented. I'll pass it over to Jenny McCollum, our Chief Procurement Officer, to walk us through each of the remaining items before I ask for a motion, beginning with item 2.
Thank you. Through the chair, award item 2 is a contract increase. This is for Greenland Water Reclamation Facility pipelines. So we've got the water, reclaimed water, and sanitary sewer force mains. So this is a project that is a combination of 3 JEA capital projects, all flowing into the proposed JEA Greenland Water Reclamation Facility. This is being delivered using the Progressive Design Build delivery method, and Garney Companies, Inc. is our recommended awardee in the amount of $43,376,077.17. We are expecting this project to be completed April of 2024. And we've had quite a few, you guys have seen this quite a few times. So since this is Progressive Design Build, we've come to you with early out packages for material or equipment, etc. So this is for the, and it's all listed in the award write-up, so I won't walk you through all of those changes. But for this contract increase, the request is for the construction of the water main, reclaimed water line, and force main leading to the Greenland Water Reclamation Facility, which includes approximately 13 miles of 24-inch pipe or greater. So that should give you guys the magnitude of how large this project is and why that pricing is so high. So we have a total budget for this project is a little over $56 million. So this work falls in line with our budget. And I will pause there to see if you guys have any questions. I think right now our new not to exceed is just shy of $54 million.
Jenny, this is Lori Whitmer. I just wanted to make one clarification. You mentioned it goes to 3 projects, but in the award narrative at the top, there are a total of 5 projects.
Okay. Is that something we need to fix, or is that accurate?
That is
Jenny,
accurate.
this is Beth. That's accurate.
Okay. So the combination of 3 capital projects could, in fact, have had other projects wrapped into another project, or should we update that first sentence to say a combination of 5 capital projects?
You should say 5 capital projects.
All right. We will make that update. Thank you, Lori and Beth. Any other questions or comments?
Hey, this is Hyde. I apologize, I didn't catch this sooner, but I don't know if it's material or not, but under project number, there should be project numbers, not index numbers. The index numbers are listed.
Okay. Lori, can my group work with you on updating our award to put the project numbers?
The project
Yeah.
managers should provide those numbers.
I will just mention, we've been doing this for some time. I think the project number heading is standard for all awards, capital O&M, and we have been referencing index numbers instead. I'm okay either way.
Okay, just, I didn't realize that, so thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thanks, Jenny. A motion to approve award item 2 with amendments.
Hyde, so moved.
And a second.
Joe Arfano, second.
We have a motion from Hai Vu, a second from Joe Arfano. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 3.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 3 is a contract increase. This is for our wastewater capital program management. Right now we have Jacobs Engineering Group, Inc. as our recommended awardee, and the contract increase would be in the amount of $6,724,253. This contract is not going to expire until the end of June of 2024. You guys have also seen this a number of times. So we've had an original award that came in to Jacobs in 2019, a little over $10 million. We've had contract increases, 3 of them, to add work for FY 20, 21, and 22. And so as things are identified, we come back to the awards committee each fiscal year. When we came to you all for the work for FY 22 back in September, this was not included in that. So we wanted to bring it to the committee to get approved. Since we were adding it, it is for the it's a task order that covers the installation of a chilled water line from the Hogan's Creek District Energy Systems, our DES system plant, to the upcoming Jaguars Performance Facility. So we are working and partnering with the Jaguars on this, and right at this moment, we only have what our budget estimate and engineering during services during construction and construction for the project. So our final project budget will be completed once the design has been progressed to a point that is accurate enough to really understand what the true amount is. Unfortunately, we don't have timing on our side, so this is what we are presenting as our estimate. If we need to come back to the committee, we certainly can do that, but just wanted to be able to get this over to you all for review so that we could move forward timely with this project. So that's why we have not waited for a further design. So I'll pause there and see if you guys have any questions or comments.
Lori, Jenny, sorry, this is Lori from Budget. I did want to make clear to the committee that Budget did not endorse this award, and I believe you have received VP endorsement. Is that correct, Jenny?
So we do have VP endorsement through HI, and I was also told that Joe Arfano would be willing to sign off on this award as well.
Good morning, this is Hyde. I do want to mention that the current contract, the contract with Jacobs is a PMAR contract, which is, I think, Program Management at Risk contract. And if someone could remind me if there was a contract cap with this contract in the original award or original contract.
I'm not quite sure.
Is that the,
Go ahead.
is that the not to exceed 33 that's in the
No,
bottom of the change order? You're asking something different.
that is the current not to exceed amount, but I think there was a contract cap at the beginning, but I can't remember for sure.
So, hi, this is Dan Crook, the purchasing agent. There was no like project cap, if that's what you're asking. There was, of course, an initial not to exceed amount, and that initial award amount was for program startup and a couple of initial designs. But this project was envisioned originally to handle large pipeline projects and well projects and things along those lines. So we didn't have a project cap set out in the tech specs, if that's what you are asking.
No, I just want to make sure that if there was a contract cap at the beginning, we're not exceeding that, but it doesn't sound like it. If someone can correct me, it sounds like the way this contract is structured, that we would define task orders for each fiscal year or as the projects come up, and then we would add it to the contract, and it's a 5-year contract.
Yes. Yeah, that is correct, Ty. It would be rare that we would go out on especially a 5-year contract and try to cap it. That either when we come to the awards committee, or even just, I think what you're maybe referring to is in the solicitation documents, did we write anything about how much we would allow this vendor to be able to allow the work for them? We wouldn't put any of that type of verbiage in our solicitation. So all the way you explained it is exactly accurate. And as long as there are projects that are part of the CIP that fall within your kind of specific scope and what we had stated, it is eligible for us to be able to use this contract. I think, it's really a business decision, and when you guys are adding projects to CIP, et cetera, that would be deemed appropriate.
Okay. And just as an FYI to the committee members, this contract allows for Jacobs to do really a lot of things, not only just design, but with previous task orders, progressive design build, and construction also. So it's a very flexible contract that allows them to do that.
It is, and it's under the statute as a program manager. So it's different than what you guys have seen in the past with construction manager at risk. This is a program manager at risk contract, and it was, when we bid it out, we followed the statute and attached it to the CIP. So we have some flexibility. We put a list of projects we thought at the time that we were going to use, but as you all know, the CIP changes and grows. And so as long as it falls within our scope, and like I said, there's about 3 different areas that we can utilize this one for, and pipeline being one of them, large pipeline projects, then we have the ability to do that. It doesn't mean we would do that for everything, but this gives us some flexibility when trying to execute the capital program.
Can I ask a question about the budget endorsement portion?
Sure.
I think I understand why, but Lori, is that because it was not in the original FY21 budget?
No, it's because the program management contract was for program type projects such as SIPs and well rehab. My primary concern is due to, we verify is there budget, this project has budget, but then we verify does it have the basis. And typically for this project, which is the DES chilled water extension, it would go through a progressive design build or design bid build process. And what we would see at award is awarding the amount, a portion of the engineering cost. But what we're doing here is awarding engineering and construction. And that's not something I've seen and maybe it's just contractual. But from my perspective, for this one project alone, we would typically only see it awarded for the engineering portion.
So as a clarification, I think maybe could be causing some confusion. So as this is a program manager at risk contract, so like when we brought the FY22 scope to you all, it was kind of inclusive, right? And the business jump in if I'm stating this wrong in any way, but inclusive of the projects that we are going to be utilizing over the next year. So some of that could have been just your, typical pre-construction services or whatever you're doing, or design or construction. This contract gives them the flexibility to be able to do a number of things. So I guess I would just say, as from a blanket perspective, they are certainly allowed to add something like this too. But if Lori wasn't comfortable, then, pushing it to high, and Joe is absolutely something that she, should and could do. So I'll let the business jump in if they want to add anything.
Jenny, it's Joe. If Hy or Sean could verify a couple of things. First of all, I believe there's a very tight timeline on this project, which really limits the options, Lori. So I don't have a problem with your lifting this if you're uncomfortable, but there's some extenuating circumstances, one being the extremely tight timeline that the Jaguars have approached us with. And the second, could you clarify, Hy, exactly where the project becomes DES as opposed to water? I'm a little foggy. And maybe that's a dumb question. I apologize, but it just seems like should be DES, but I'm a little confused.
I think this, to answer your last question, Joe, I think this is a DES project, where the project is listed under DES systems, the index. There it will be, but it's just going to be implemented under a contract that we have on the water side.
Okay.
Because in the end, they're just building pipelines, technically. Yes, to confirm the schedule is the Jaguars require us to put in the mains by March of 23. If we were to go out on the street and request proposals or bids, we will not be able to meet that schedule. And also, as a comment, this is not unprecedented because we've used this contract before for design build. I think first task was to deal with the emergency manhole near Buckman. That, I believe, that was a design build situation where we awarded the estimated amount up front. And the well rehab program, that is also a design build approach. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure for that one, I think that one was awarded with a total estimated cost up front too. And someone in the business can verify, but from what we're seeing, FY21-22, the awards, that's what it seems to me that we did.
Thank you, Hy. Just for the record, I saw Stephen Elmore had a question. Should it be an emergency award? And Joe Perez responded aptly so that there's a contract, so it's not necessary to have this as an emergency.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily follow the emergency, like how our P code lays out what an emergency would be. It's not an imminent threat to our system. It's
Right.
It's all the things. And if we have a contract in place, especially when you're following the statute for design work, you can't do emergency design work. You have to follow the statute. So this contract allowed for the timing we followed the statute. We met all the requirements. So this was something we cleared up.
I would just say
very
that it's an imminent threat to the Jaguars' competitiveness, but that's another story.
Careful what to stop the recording.
I'm going to pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny.
Just a last comment, we do recognize that with DES, chilled water mains, et cetera, especially in the downtown corridor, that for future projects, we are going to see, if there's going to be any project, they're going to be on a very tight timeline. So we are working with procurement to look at developing a contract with firms in order for us to respond to the requests by customers, such as the Jaguars and U of Health. They're going to have very tight timelines.
Okay.
Thank you, Hi.
Very good conversation. May I get a motion to approve award item 3?
Joe Orfano, so moved.
Laura Dutton. I'll second.
Thank you. Joe Orfano, have a motion from Joe Orfano, second from Laura Dutton. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Another big meeting?
And motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 4.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 4 is a proposal. This is for our LiDAR surveying services, and this is for modeling of JEA's entire electric transmission system. Pickett and Associates Inc. is our recommended awardee in the amount of $1,007,567. We are expecting this to be completed in September of 2022. And we had great competition on this. We received 10 proposals. We evaluated the companies on professional staff experience, their project approach, their work plan, company experience, et cetera. I'll say historically, JEA fulfills the LiDAR surveying needs on a project-by-project basis, which is included in the design phase for the individual projects or by processing informal CC&A direct awards under $35,000. The last time JEA performed a large-scale LiDAR survey of the entire transmission electric system was back in 2010. And we did a little bit of comparing for your benefit. The award amount was about $633,000. We completed it at $466,000. The difference here, though, even though the scopes are similar, when JEA developed this scope, the scope of services were tailored based on lessons learned from the previous projects and input from GIS and O&M departments that would allow improved use of the deliverables. And so overall, that increased our costs, and we listed out about 4 bullets of just different things that we are adding to this scope that was not in the last scope from 2010. And then when we compare their hourly rates of $138 on average, when we compare that to other surveying rates, we see a range of $130 to $150. So we're on the lower end of that hourly rate and have deemed it reasonable. So they would like to have the awards committee approve a contract for this project, which is much larger in scope than most. So I'll pause and ask the committee if you guys have any questions or comments.
This is Haya. I'm just really curious. I know that the procurement process started in May of last year. So what delayed the award?
Funding.
So this one's yeah. This one's also CC&A, so you can't ask for price up front. So when you're developing that final scope and fee, it takes time through negotiations, and especially since the last time we did this was 2010, it takes some time and effort with all those groups from a coordination perspective. But Rodney, if you want to add anything different, if you're on.
Yeah. This is Rodney here. So originally,
procurement was approached to do this work in fiscal year 21, and it wasn't until mid-year that we got started. And by the time we got through and got to the evaluated proposers list, we were running out of daylight in fiscal year 21, and then they obviously had to look at fiscal year 22 to figure out how funds were going to be put aside and what could project work to develop it. So we did tell the bidders that everything was going to be on hold, and then after we got the new fiscal year funds, we went back and the other team, the business unit, came up with the funds and the money, and we went back to pick it. They agreed to hold their rates and everything that they had submitted previously, and that brings us to where we're at today.
Thank you, Rodney. Ricky succinctly put it, one word, funding, so I understood right away, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll note too, when you see that much competition and you have 10 different proposals to go through, those evaluators have quite a task at hand, which can cause some length in time. So, all right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thanks, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 4?
This is Ricky, so moved.
And a second?
Haivu, second.
We have a motion from Ricky Erickson, a second from Haivu. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 5.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 5 is a bid. This is for construction services for the New World Avenue Waterworks to Chafee Road. It's a 24-inch water main project. They're doing this project to provide increased reliability and redundancy during peak times and during a water main break. TG Utility Company, Inc. is our recommended awardee in the amount of $3,697,970. We expect for this project to be completed in April of 2023. We received 6 bids, and our award amount is approximately 11% lower than our budget estimate. I will pause to see if the committee has any questions or comments. Seeing none, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve award item 5?
Laura Dutton, so moved.
Haivu, second.
We have a motion from Laura Dutton, a second from Haivu. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 6.
Thank you. Through the chair, award number 6 is a contract amendment. This is for our JEA Downtown Campus owners representatives. CBRE Inc. is our recommended awardee, and the contract amendment amount is $156,224. We have had, we originally bid this out back in 2017. CBRE was our highest respondent, and it was in the amount of approximately $568,000. Since then, we've had a few different change orders come before the committee, which I won't read through all of them, but just as in general scope, it was for phase 1 workplace strategy, change management services, and then continued funding for the owner's representative services. As you guys know, the original, the project approach evolved over time, and since the original engagement, and has been extended through a longer period. This contract amendment is intended to cover the continued owner's rep support through project move-in, which is expected in September of 2022, and project closeout, which is expected at the end of calendar year 2022. Much of the effort included in Change Order 3 covered reviewing and negotiating project changes on both the core and shell, base building and garage work, and in coordinating with JEA's tenant improvement design and between all parties working on the project. JEA delayed its tenant improvement design and plan development to incorporate the reduced project size and incorporate the move beyond a hybrid work model to the current workplace model. So JEA has benefited from CBRE's representation on timing, progress, and schedule interpretations as project approaches core and shell completion, including contract review and interpretation. And as JEA transitions to the tenant improvement build-out, JEA continues to benefit from the oversight, coordination, and tracking on all aspects of the project. CBRE reviewed and led the effort negotiating our guaranteed maximum price for the tenant improvement construction contract and continues to review and coordinate buyouts for the disciplines associated with that GMP. I'll make a note that the hourly rates have remained the same throughout the contract since 2017, which is huge. So I'll pause there and ask if you all have any comments or questions.
I think the project manager on the new building is phenomenal. I'm going to guess that part of the great benefit is Nancy's role in it.
I will say
Absolutely.
100%. And Nancy, if you have anything to add, please do.
Thank you. As I look at this, it seems like a lot of money cumulatively, but we did start in 2017 and really changed course several times over the life of the project. And CBRE's expertise has greatly helped Matt Poteetna and the rest of the HQ team. So just complex, it's negotiations, it's everyday details. And we appreciate their work, and I think this is will get us through the end of the project. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I will pass it back to the chair for a vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 6?
Or final so moved.
That in some second.
We have a motion from Joe Arfano, a second from Laura Dutton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 7.
Thank you, through the chair. My guess would be Ricky is going to be racing to approve this one as a motion, but I'll talk you guys through it. Contract amendment, this is for our pad mount, all of our transformer contracts that we bid out, but specifically for our pad mount transformers. So if you look down at the table, we've tried to give you a full history of the original award amounts to the different vendors that we are using, and then the change order amount for this one, just so that we could focus in on what we're asking the committee to do. These really only apply to Gresco Supply and Tri-State Utility products. So what we would be doing here is recommending that the committee approve a deduct in the Gresco Supply amount, in the amount that was originally awarded, which is $6,303,776.85, and move that and some over to Tri-State Utility Products in the amount of $8,345,513.79. So it's important, I'll walk you guys through some of the reasons behind this, and just to note, this contract does not expire until May of 2024. But JEA is requesting this contract amendment based on 3 primary reasons. 1, transferring the work from Gresco to Tri-State after Gresco decided that it was not in their best interest to move forward with signing a contract with us. For a multitude of reasons, and a lot of it had to do with their manufacturer not having the ability to perform the way we needed them to. So we approached, and then I'll go through the rest, but so the second request would be is for the additional increase in funds beyond what we originally planned for work due to increased material costs. And then, again, just larger volumes of planned work that we are estimating the need for based off of the longer lead times that we're seeing. So we're having to purchase FY25 needs now, if that says anything for you, for the group. So just a little history. The first contract amendment, we'd come back to this committee asking them to support some change order to do some backup contracts. This was supposed to be, Gresco was supposed to be our primary and Tri-State was supposed to be our backup. And so we did a 60-40 split and we added Tri-State at that point for the single phase. After Gresco had reached out and said they could not move forward with the contract, we reached out to Tri-State to see if they could take 100% of our pad mount transformers. And they agreed. But what comes along with that is our stocking requirements and our storm stock. So we have been negotiating and working with their manufacturer, which is Howard, to get all of the things in line to make sure they can stock materials on site and also storm stock all the requirements that we have in the contract that the primary vendor would have supported us on. So we have made it through those negotiations. We're ready to move forward. As you guys know, we're seeing dramatic increases in pricing of units since the original award, mostly driven by copper, steel, electric steel, labor, transportation, you know, all the supply chain disruptions that they really impact these pad mount transformers. Also seeing a huge increase in the amount of new development across the board, not just here locally, but across the United States. Since Contract Amendment 1 on June of 2021, they've seen about a 22% increase. But cumulatively, since the original bid, we're about 32% higher than when we came to the committee back in May of, I don't have that in front of me. It was May of, 2021. So a year later, you can see how drastically the prices are adjusting to the market with those different materials that I mentioned, with in the transportation and the labor. So that is driving quite a bit of not only the increase in the amount to make sure that we can cover orders through FY25, but then also the increase in the cost. And the last thing I want to note, when we first awarded this, the lead times for pad mount transformers were 20 weeks, which our old lead times were about 8 to 12 weeks before the pandemic. They are now up to 52 weeks on some of these transformers. So I think that also helps explain the need and why we're starting to look out for the FY25 delivery dates and the needs for that. So I'm going to pause. This one has quite a bit of backup to help justify how much we're adding to the contract. And so I won't go through all of that, but if you guys have any questions, we're certainly able to answer those.
Hey Jenny, this is Holly. I really appreciate the write-up. It was really good. It answered all the questions I had coming in. I do have a question about the request itself. Should it be a rescindment or rescission of award instead of decrease, because Gresco refused to sign the contract, so there is no contract to decrease, right? And you essentially have zero contract with them.
So it's a great question. We bid all of this out together. So this was one award to about 6 different vendors. Okay. And we cherry picked based off of lead time pricing, that kind of thing. So it's where we wouldn't be rescinding the bid because it was all inclusive of our transformers. We just want to make sure that you all know we didn't move forward with the contract with Gresco. So from a transparency standpoint, how we're transferring that money to Tri-State, and then the additional funds we're adding for the additional work and cost increases, how all that transpired so that it's very transparent and clear as to who has our contract. So I think this one, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kenny, or if Jessica's on, I think this one is probably the one we have the biggest concern about. and now we don't have a backup supplier. And you can tell because of all the things that are feeding in with the price increases and the new development increase demand that people are not wanting to take on this risk. And so we are fortunate to have Tri-State as a partner and continue to work with them. We've already started seeing some of our transformers with them. I don't know if they've started to come in, but we have slotted with them, and they've been really great to work with. So we feel very fortunate to have them on board.
Hi, Jenny. This is Jessica, Manager of Inventory Planning for folks. Just kind of to give additional background about Howard as a manufacturer. Their competition has lead times that are closer to 2 years. So JEA is benefiting from having this partnership with Tri-State and Howard regarding the transformers, even though our lead times are continuing to slide out. You know, underneath the past 9 months with this contract, we've seen lead times go from 20 weeks out to like 36, 40 weeks. And, you know, now we're having to plan for 52 based on advice from them. However, if we went out and did a spot buy to any other manufacturers, we're looking at 140 weeks and sometimes longer. So we're in a good position compared to most other utilities because we got in with Howard early on before ERMCO was refusing orders, before Cooper started increasing their lead times, et cetera. And while it's not the best situation, we're in the best that we can be.
Thank you, Jessica. That was very eloquently worded, and I appreciate that.
Do we have any idea when all this craziness will end? We were planning for 25.
Yes, that's $1 million question. Hi. I think if we could answer that, we would all be really rich.
We hope that it will end. Yeah, we hope that it'll end before this recontracting effort in 2024.
Mm-hmm. So we are not anticipating, obviously, a change anytime soon. These the engineered equipment such as this specialized is going to be the last to recover, just due to its nature. But we hope maybe we'll start to see a little bit of difference in labor, transportation, all of that through maybe, you know, towards the end of this calendar year, beginning of FY23, and then kind of all those things hopefully will start to follow between FY23 and 24, but with 52-week lead times that they're asking us to plan out for, we don't really have the luxury to wait and see what the market does. So we are, we're doing the best we can, like Jessica said, with the scenario we've been given.
Yeah, hi. It's a dynamic market out there. The lead times, a lot of that is being pushed out. One, based upon increased consumption by utilities due to new growth. So new growth has to slow down. New home starts, things along those lines have to really slow down for us to start pulling back lead times. And then also the impacts of COVID also have to stop impacting manufacturers. They'll have a lot of labor concerns. A lot of new workforce has to come in, and these are skilled work that has to be trained for their employees. So we have to develop a workforce, not have large impacts from COVID of the workforce where you'll lose an entire segment of the manufacturing lines. If someone comes in sick, they get everyone sick in that group. Those things have to change, along with new home starts have to slow down for us to start pulling the lead times back. And then in addition, like Jenny said, raw materials and prices, we'll probably see those trim off before we start to see some of those other impacts from lead time starting to pull back. But that's at which point in time we'll see. I don't think that's going to happen in a year time frame.
Yeah. I'll note we also need to, well, two things. We need to, you know, cross every body part we have that, you know, the storms miss us this summer, because that just, all that does, and really storms in general, when a storm hits, they will push our orders that are already out. If you know, we're not affected, they will push out orders to then prioritize the people that were affected. So that also pushes production out, which can be an issue. So whether we get hit or not, we actually might be in a better situation if we do, because we would get prioritized, but we certainly do not want that. But as a note, and this is part of the board report, this manufacturer, they usually produce 3,500 transformers a week. And to Kenny's point, their capacity is at 1,500. So we've had a huge reduction in the amount of transformers that they can even produce, which is also adding to, you know, the demand keeps coming and they can't produce as fast as the demand is coming in across the state. So it's a perfect storm of quite a few things.
So we're losing we essentially have no backup now. Is it a possibility going to the future if Tri-State experiences some issues that we can go to Gresco and say, hey, give us pricing if they're available to deliver? Is that something that we can do still? Or
Hey, Jenny, I'll take that one.
Sure.
Sure. Okay, so the issue with Gresco has to do with their partnership with the manufacturer ERMCO. ERMCO is unable to produce the units due to internal issues they're having with labor, raw materials, et cetera. Latest information that I heard is I think they're also changing out other personnel within their company, I think due to what kind of led them to this, I hate to say a disaster for them, but basically not being able to accept orders and having lead times longer than 2 years. In their case, so I think for Gresco, with their partnership being with ERMCO, they're off the table essentially. But what we do have is communication with our other companies that are underneath this contract for like 3-phase transformers, for example, overhead, and their connections with their manufacturer partnerships on if there's any open slots from other customers. So for example, with Wesco, they currently have our 3-phase transformer business. However, ABB is able to produce single phase occasionally. And so what will happen is Wesco will reach out to my team and say, hey, we happen to have 17 slots available for single phase. Is JEA interested? And 9 times out of 10, we say yes. So from there, then we'll go ahead and take advantage of those extra slotting options that come available. And knowing that we have that same, you know, they kind of want that same relationship with us. If JEA decides we don't need slots for whatever reason, you know, we can free them up to allow other customers to take advantage of them to keep that production moving just across the board. So unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to utilize ERMCO/Gresco as a backup option, but really right now our backup is if slots become open from other customers, we jump on, you know, and take advantage of those.
Thank you, Jessica. It's very informative.
It's an important one. Any other questions or comments? All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thanks, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 7?
This is Ricky, so moved.
And a second?
Hi, second.
We have a motion from Ricky Erickson, a second from Hai Vu. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 8.
Through the chair, award number 8 is an invitation for bid. This is for construction services for JEA's Park and King Substation. So a little history: over the past 3 decades, JEA has been implementing a plan to retire the 4 kV distribution system. In 2015, the 4 kV conversion plan was reevaluated, and the findings were that the conversion was still justified in some areas, but in other areas it made more sense to refurb and keep the 4 kV system. So the modified plan refurbishes 6 4 kV substations and associated circuits, and Park and King is one of those 6. So this will be the 5th one that we've done, and so we'll have one more after this that will remain to be rebuilt. Reliable Substation Services, Inc. is our recommended awardee. in the amount of $1,822,500. This is a project completion of the end of December of 2022. We received 3 bids, and so good competition. And the award states that it's equal to our budget estimate. Was that budget estimate updated recently? It's rare we see the two match completely, but I know it was around our budget estimate, so if someone could just comment on that.
Yes, it was.
I thought so. Okay. Any questions or comments from the committee? I'll pass back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you. May I get a motion to approve award item 8?
High Vu, so moved.
And a second?
Laura Dutton, second.
We have a motion from High Vu, a second from Laura Dutton. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. Pass it over to Jenny to present award item 9.
Thank you. Through the chair, the next 2 awards are same in nature, just 2 different vendors. So keep that in mind as I'm explaining this first one. So award number 9 is a contract amendment and like an increase. So we are, this is for restoration of disturbed sod, and this one is for our southeast territory, kind of our southeast side of the river. These were sheltered, so these are JEA vendors. And American Construction Enterprises of Northeast Florida, Inc. is our recommended awardee. And the contract increase amount is to their budget, which is $206,390.89. Originally, this was a 5-year award. We came to the committee prior, I think it was probably 9 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that, to reduce this contract term to align it with the next award, which is for the northwest side of the river for the sod, disturbed sod. So we're still within our 5-year window, so this isn't a renewal. We're just amending the end date to now align with what we are doing with the other contract, which is to renew it. We had planned to go out to bid, and with the market and the way that we are seeing costs increase, both of our vendors were willing to hold their pricing. So we decided to utilize the renewal on the next contract or the next award. And so this one is actually aligning that to keep it co-termed so that we then have the option next year to rebid if we want to rebid. We also still have one renewal option. So it just gives us the flexibility we need to revisit the market at that time. Any other notes? I would just say that's really all the key points. So I'll ask the committee if you guys have any questions.
Jenny, this is Stephen. Just a general question. Given that this is an amendment, should we change that 5-year length of contract to represent that co-term date of March versus July?
So that we could. It takes away some of our flexibility. And that was the original term that was awarded and prescribed in the solicitation. So we like to at least give ourselves that full length of time. Who knows what could happen if we go to rebid and we need a little extra time. It will give us that time without, having to do a full renewal or a partial renewal. So just keeping it in line with the original intent, I think keeps it less confusing. As long as our write-up talks about, why we're doing what we're doing, I think we're probably best to keep it there, but open to y'all's thoughts and suggestions.
Yeah, I was thinking with the write-up, it's very clear what the intent is, but if we went back to the July 8th date, based on the write-up, I think it provides more consistency in that 5-year term, but the intent is to renew in March, and it doesn't take away anything. So That would be my recommendation. Changing the end date to the July date and leave everything else as it stands in the narrative.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yes, we certainly can do that. That's the intent. And so if we bring it back to that, there is no, I mean, right now we're awarding to their budget and what they have. But I'll ask the business if you guys have any major issues or concerns with the perception of that.
No, Jenny, Kyle's getting married Saturday, so he's not here today. No, the business doesn't have, because we are going to do them aligned. There's many reasons, to do them aligned, from the cost perspective, to do them both at the same time, and then also too to get the companies or the proposal in at the same time from the same group of folks. So we don't see an impact,
right?
So it would keep it from them saying, "Hey, why don't you renew us?" So I think even from a perception impact from the vendor themselves, I think it could be a good move. With that only concern in the back of the head of what you mentioned about why we were leaving it, what if something happens? Well, then we do have the ability just to continue to, extend it. But if we change the date, it's
That's
done.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
So you would be okay,
yes, ma'am.
Jackie,
We're good.
if we update the end date to the end of that 5-year term, the perception won't be construed in any other way, but just the flexibility.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I'm okay with Stephen's recommendation.
Perfect. Just make sure we're all on the same page. So we'll update the end date, Stephen. Any other comments or questions? All right, I'll pass it back to the committee for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. Motion to approve Award 9 with amendments.
So moved.
And a second.
My thing got approved in the first 5 minutes, and I have to sit here just for the off chance that they ask a question at the very end. Oops.
There you go. Thank you.
Yes, sometimes that happens.
Sorry about that. Motion from High
That's all right.
Second from Joe Orfano. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is adopted. I'll pass it over to Jenny to present award item 10.
Thank you. This is our last award. And I will note this is a long agenda, guys. So if you do need to drop off and your thing has been approved, the likelihood of questions coming up at the end after the approval are slim, and we certainly can help any of the business units answer those questions from a procurement aspect. And typically we're dialed in to the business side. So if you need to drop off, please feel free. Award number 10 is a contract increase and renewal. So this is, like we said, for the northwest side of the river. It is a JSUP sheltered market. CNL Landscape Inc. is a recommended awardee in the amount of $595,851. This is for the first 1-year renewal option. So you'll see that end date move to March 28, 2023. They've been performing well, and like we said, we had planned to co-term these, rebid them, but when we reconsidered looking at the market, it just made better sense since they were willing to hold their pricing for us to execute these renewal or this renewal option. So I'll pause there and ask the committee if you have any questions or comments. All right, I'll pass it back to the chair for a vote.
Thank you, Jenny. May I get a motion to approve award item 10?
So moved.
And a second?
Ricky, second.
Second.
I have a motion from Hai Vu, a second from Ricky Erickson. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is adopted. Award item 10 is the final award item for today. The entire agenda representing items 1 through 10 are approved for February 17th, 2022. Is there any other business to come before the awards committee at this time? All right, seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
You both.